With reaction, Fox News contributor, former FBI director Dan Bongino. Dan, I'm getting to the point where I'm livid. Joe Biden gets 4 of the top 10 FBI most wanted in 4 years. Under Kash Patel, you were there for 6 of them. We've gotten 8 of the top 10. You see the crime rate, murder rate, violent crime down dramatically in every category around the country. And, all of a sudden, we're surprised by this. Where was that? Where was the FBI those 4 years? I'd like to know the answer to that.
Well, they were there. They just had the wrong priorities. It had become more of a, like political bouncers in a political bar or club. And they were really holding a lot of the field agents and a lot of these field officers that had nothing to do with a lot of stuff, holding them back. The priorities were all wrong. One of the things I did right away, Kash and I worked on immediately, was we went into CTD, the Counterterror Division, and we asked them, how are we risk banding these threats? And some of the threats just were not commensurate with the asset allocation, Sean, at all. We had a lot of this, as you said, it seemed like politically motivated threat banding on the counterterror side. And we found out a lot of it was coming from these partnerships they had under the Ray Comey FBI with, unbelievably, 8 entities like the Southern Poverty Law Center, who has their own legal problems right now. Well, we immediately discontinued that nonsensical relationship and got down to business. And we asked people to justify why, in fact, this was given all of this manpower, this perceived counterterror threat, and this, the Islamo fanatics or whatever it may be, were not getting that proper attention. And once we got done with that and let them go arrest bad guys again, you saw the numbers, man. Spreadsheets don't lie.
They don't lie. And there's one other thing I don't think people pay enough attention to, and that is that the most preventable national security disaster, 12 million unvetted illegals that they denied were coming in the country. We don't know how many gotaways. We know they came from over 200 countries. Many were terror ties. You inherited that problem, finding all these people, terrorists, murderers, cartel members, gang members, child molesters. The list is dramatically high. So you had to add a national security threat that the country never had before. How do you find these needles in a haystack?
Yeah, the way to do it is you deport the whole haystack. Then you don't have to worry about the needles. And that's what President Trump did. And that was the revolutionary approach he took to law enforcement. Listen, it's easy for me to throw these accolades around. I'm telling you, I was there. Like, I saw it. I had been a Secret Service agent for over a decade of my life. I'd worked with federal task forces on financial crimes, counterterrorism, everything. Never had a president, any Republican or Democrat president, by the way, was bipartisan, ever taken seriously the deportation on a large scale of people in the country illegally. Never. He said, listen, we're just going to get people out who are here illegally. If 10% of them are criminals who committed a crime other than entering illegally, that's a whole lot of people. And by pure math, it's going to drop the crime rate. And I'm sure there are going to be people in there as well who may have been planning potential mass violence or counterterror. It's not hard when you get common sense back in the White House. And I'll tell you, we got beat up for it, Kash and I. I saw all those reports in the left-wing lunatic media. I can't believe the FBI is working so hard on ERO, these emergency removal operations with our border officials. Well, it turned out to be really smart because we were able to provide the backbone of intelligence that really wasn't there in a lot of these federal agencies because we had we have the counterterror mission on our own, and we were able to triage deportations. Hey, that guy's really important. That's a gang member. And look what happened. That was all his plan. I'd love to tell you I made it up, but I didn't. That was his idea, and it worked.
It's hard to imagine that we are having a debate, and I guess some people on the other side take it seriously, about defund, dismantle, no bail laws, reimagine the police. I don't know what that means. Send in a social worker when somebody's in a subway saying, oh, I'm going to slaughter everybody in the subway. I think you need a guy with a gun and the ability to take out that person if, God forbid, something goes down.
Yeah. Sean, the only thing they're going to reimagine, the Democrats, if they break up all the work the Trump administration, Cash and I did over the last year to get the FBI back in the right direction, the crime rate didn't drop by historic numbers by accident, okay? The only thing they're going to reimagine is an increased crime rate. That's it. This is not rocket science, what we're doing here. We're arresting bad guys who do bad stuff. When they're in jail, they don't do bad stuff. The national security threats right now are too grave to be playing around with a party with this defund the police, defund ICE crap. This terror disruption we just engaged in conjunction, by the way, with the excellent work of the Secret Service, too. I want to throw that out there. That would never have happened if we did not have a serious drone mitigation program and a reorganized counterterror division and counter-intel section. It wouldn't. I mean, I can't prove it counterfactual. I'm just telling you, like they were looking in all the wrong directions before. When you start focusing on where the bad guys are and who they work with, and you shake those trees, you know what falls out of the trees? More bad guys. It's not hard. It really, law enforcement it's dangerous. Challenging, no doubt. Probably the most dangerous and challenging outside of our military. But it's not hard when you just apply basic principles.
Oh, if you apply policing and law and order and safety and security, guess what? It works. You were on my podcast and you said something because Iran is now in the news. It's front and center. And you have said it to me and every source I have that would know. And I want you to put emphasis on this point, and that is, the president had no choice when it came to epic fury. And explain what that means, because I listen to people that casually seem to be willing to gamble our kids and our grandkids and their future with a nuclear-armed Iran, which is not acceptable to me, which is not leaving them a better world. But they make that argument. I want your counter-argument.
Yeah, I think I was saying on your show how if we had that Men in Black mind wipe device and we could just read everyone into the president's daily brief every morning, what the president's doing in Iran, I promise you, even amongst his most hardcore haters with level 22 TDS, would say, wow, he definitely made the right call. I'm limited in what I can say, but I'll tell you this. It's not just the nuclear threat that was exigent. It's the cyber threat the Iranians were engaged in. It's the lethal plotting, the assassination attempts. And I want you to remember this, everyone in the listening audience. They don't subscribe to this mutually assured destruction. They don't act in any way with any logic or reason whatsoever. Like, say, even the Russians don't, even however crazy Putin is, he does not want a nuclear weapon hitting Moscow. He doesn't. He's crazy, but he's not one. The Iranians don't care. It is a bloodthirsty theocracy. You give them the ability to kill us. You give them the gun. They're going to shoot it. It's not a matter of if. Forget the if. And the question was only the when. And I think President Trump said, I'm tired of dealing with this kicking the can down the road, the when question, and we're just going to do it. The politics be damned. I mean, you think the politics are helping him? If he cared about the politics, he wouldn't have done it. You know what he cares about? He doesn't want a freaking mushroom cloud over Washington, D.C. or New York. That's called leadership, making really hard decisions that are really difficult to explain to people who may not understand them because they don't have the information set you have. And that's okay. You know, we're free to question it here. It's a republic, and I'm telling you, I will go to the grave telling you he made 100% the right call. I'm absolutely sure of it.
I'm sure of it, too. I believe you, and I believe all the other people that I've talked to, every other source that I had. I talked to the president tonight. Okay, some people don't want a peace deal. They just want to blow Iran up. And he said to me, he said, Sean, I can go back to that option any second I want. If they do not negotiate in good faith, he said he will do that. Why would people doubt that, considering all that he's done up to this point?
It's bizarre, isn't it? It's like, man, there's
Bizarre.
really no evidence that President Trump will use kinetic action and military strikes in Iran. He just did it a couple of days ago, like last week. I mean, I don't understand you can't win with this schizo crowd on the other side of this. Trump negotiates are like, oh my gosh, this guy chickens out. Trump bombs the out of him, and they're like, I can't believe he's engaged in this war crime, aggression, this illegal act of war. The guy's the commander-in-chief, by the way. He can't win with this crowd. You have to just listen to their argument, and they debate themselves. I guest hosted for your show about 5-10 years ago, I forget, and I played a clip of Obama debating himself on issues. This is the left. Trump negotiates. I can't believe he's negotiating. He hits them with a bunch of catastrophic strikes, wipes out their ballistic missile supply, kills their entire leadership. Oh my gosh, this guy's a warmonger. He's so aggressive. What the hell is it, guys? They like lick their finger. I used to play baseball, throw grass in the air to see where the wind was blowing, how to feel fly balls. That's the left. How do we feel these narrative fly balls? Throw the grass in the air. It's really hard to keep track of what exactly they're arguing when they debate themselves.
By the way, now that Dan Bongino is back on his show and doing his podcast on Rumble and elsewhere, you got to watch. I mean, he is firing on all cylinders. No prisoners. It's a great watch. Dan, appreciate. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.